9,900-year-old skeleton found in underwater cave in Mexico rewrites history. Steve McClawley reports, the ancient human skeleton found in a Mexican underwater Cenote cave illustrates the complexity of the first settlers in America 10,000 years ago. Well, we don't know if the cave was above water at that time or not, because we've had earth changes since then, obviously. New research published yesterday in the journal PLOS ONE details the discovery of a 9,900-year-old human skeleton, Chan Hole 3. It was found submerged in the Chan Hole cave near the Tulum archaeological site in Quintana Roo State on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The skeleton belonged to a woman who had died in her 30s, and she's referred to in the paper as one of the first people to set foot in the Americas, quote unquote. And her remains prove this region was inhabited by at least two different groups of early Mesoamerican settlers, at least 8,000 years before the Maya culture first emerged. Fingerprints of ancient violence. The Yucatan Peninsula is a maze of submerged caves and sinkholes. Sinkholes known as cenotes, which before filling with water served America's first settlers as settlers, and archaeologists have now discovered 10 human skeletons in the underwater caves, including the newly discovered Chan Hole 3. According to a 2014 Gizmodo article, Tumul divers discovered the skeletal remains of a young girl in a cave called Holo Negro, or Black Hole, dating to 10,976 years ago. Additionally, during the 2000s, archaeologists working in Naharon Cave near Tumul found another skeleton that radiocarbon date to 11,570 years ago. This new study not only successfully dates the ancient woman's skeleton, but it shows she had suffered a bacterial disease which had caused pitting and deformations on her skull. Furthermore, she had sustained 3 serious head injuries inflicted with a hard object or multiple objects that shattered the bones in her skull. The woman's skeleton is among the oldest human fossils to be found anywhere in the Americas, but the scientists identified a major problem with the usual radiocarbon dating method. Dr. Wolfgang Stinisbeck, the first author of the new study and an archaeologist from Heidelberg University in Germany, said in the paper that bones that have been submerged in water for thousands of years lose much of their collagen, which is the most abundant protein in the human body that holds the body together, and without collagen, accurate carbon dating is virtually impossible. The Chan Hole 3 skeleton is 30% complete, and Dr. Stinsbeck told Gizmodo that his team had used an indirect dating technique from physics based on the radioactive decay of uranium and its conversion into thorium, which is naturally occurring radioactive metal discovered in 1828 by the Swedish scientist Johns Jacob Berzelius, who named it after Thor, the Norse god of thunder. The uranium-thorium isotope samples were taken from a solid calcite, that's lime crust, that had formed of the skeleton's finger bones, having dripped from the cave ceiling at the time of Chan Hole cave, was still void of water. It was not underwater, obviously. Now, in 2018, the same team of scientists gathered charcoal samples from ancient fire pits dating to about 9,100 and 7,900 years ago. This provided evidence that the Chan Hole cave was free of water and that humans used the cave for living in for at least 1,200 years during the early and middle Holocene, before a rise in global sea levels, which eventually flooded the cave system. The study's co-author, Norbert Frank, and his team of researchers from the Institute of Environmental Physics at Heidelberg University in Germany, dated Chan Hole 3 to be a minimum of at least 9,900 years old, and according to Dr. Stinisbeck, because the body had already become skeletonized before the crusts formed, the fossil is likely much older, he said. Analyzing skull patterns. A comparative analysis of over 400 ancient skulls found across the Americas indicate that the scientists call a mesocephalic or round head skull pattern, which is different to skulls of Paleoamericans from Central Mexico and North America, which are longer and narrower skulls, dolichocephalic skull patterns. In conclusion, this observation tells scientists, quote, at least two physical distinct human groups, end quote, lived at roughly the same time in the Mexican region as the Pleistocene gave way to the Holocene, which is now. But it's unclear whether two different groups arrived in North America from Eurasia at the same time, or the two groups emerged from a single group and developed distinctive physical characteristics over time. A recent study, co-authored by Ohio State University scientist Mark Hubb, said that in the absence of DNA data, nevertheless we cannot say where these people originally came from and how they came to the Americas. But the little DNA evidence they gathered suggests a complex series of ancestral splits, multiple migrations, and the reunification of diverged groups. With modern technology, submerged cave systems like those in Tumul are beginning to share their archaeological secrets. Even without DNA, scientists can study proteins, and it's these little building blocks of life that are divulging their fossilized truths regarding the first people to populate the Americas. This article, 9,900-year-old skeleton found in Mexico, Cenote rewrites history, was originally created for Ancient Origins and is published here under Creative Commons, and this is on Collective Spark. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.